What if I told you that the entire story of Jesus didn't start in the New Testament? What if the first whispers of his coming were embedded deep within the pages of the very first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis, the book that begins it all? Creation, the fall of man, and the foundations of the world. But beneath these ancient stories lies something more, a hidden thread woven through time, a thread that points directly to Jesus Christ, or Jesus the Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach. Today, we'll uncover 10 allusions to Jesus from the book of Genesis that you might have never noticed. Stay with me, because each one is more astonishing than the last. Let's first start with the very first prophecy in the Bible, the seed of the woman. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, God declares that the seed of the woman will bruise the serpent's head. This is more than just a punishment for the serpent. It's a divine promise of redemption. But there's something deeper here. Did you know that the Hebrew word for bruise can also mean crush? This isn't just about a temporary victory. This is a prophecy of complete and final defeat, one that Christians believe was fulfilled when Jesus rose from the dead, crushing Satan underfoot. But who exactly is this seed of the woman? Let's find out. Next, we meet a mysterious figure, Melchizedek, the king of Salem, the priest of the Most High God, in Genesis chapter 14. Melchizedek is a name that means king of righteousness. But there's more. He offers bread and wine to Abraham. Sound familiar? This king with no recorded lineage foreshadows Jesus, the eternal king and priest who offers his body and blood for us. But why the bread and wine? And what does this mean for the future? We'll explore that in a moment. Let's move to one of the most heart-wrenching stories in Genesis, Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac in Genesis chapter 22. As the story unfolds, we see Isaac carrying the wood for his own sacrifice up Mount Moriah. The parallels to Jesus carrying his cross are striking. But here's a lesser-known fact. Some Jewish traditions hold that Isaac was not a young boy, but a grown man. After all, how could he carry the wood for his own sacrifice and willingly lay down his life? Does that sound familiar? But just when the knife is raised, something incredible happens. God intercedes and says, "No, I will do it myself." Number 4, Jacob's ladder, found in Genesis 28. A ladder reaching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending upon it. What if I told you that this ladder is more than just a dream? Jesus himself referenced this in John 1:51, calling himself the true connection between heaven and earth. But here's the twist. Some Jewish scholars believe that the ladder represents the giving of the Torah, divine wisdom descending to humanity. Could this ladder also be pointing to the Word made flesh? I think so. But the connections don't stop here. In Genesis 49, we find Judah, one of Jacob's sons, receiving a unique blessing, a promise that the scepter will not depart from Judah until Shiloh comes. Who is this Shiloh? Many see this as a prophecy about the Messiah, the one who would come to rule and bring peace. And here's something you might not know. Shiloh can also mean the peaceful one, or refer to a city. Could this prophecy be pointing to Jesus, the Prince of Peace, who came from the tribe of Judah? And what about that lion? There's more to this symbol than meets the eye. The story of Joseph is one of the most dramatic in Genesis, spanning from chapter 37 to 50. Sold by his brothers, falsely accused, imprisoned, and eventually exalted to the right hand of Pharaoh. Joseph's life mirrors that of Jesus in so many ways. But did you know that Joseph's Egyptian name, Zaphanath-Paneah, might mean God speaks, he lives? Could Joseph's rise from the pit to the palace be a foreshadowing of Jesus' resurrection from the grave to the throne? I think so, but this tale of betrayal and redemption isn't over yet. Genesis 12 brings us to Abraham and the promise of a seed through whom all nations would be blessed. The word seed is key here. It's both singular and collective in Hebrew. Paul, in the New Testament, sees this as pointing to Christ, the one who brings blessing to the entire world. But here's a detail you might not have considered. This blessing isn't just for Abraham's physical descendants. It's for all who have faith, making us part of that promise. But how does this seed grow into the tree of life? Let's dig deeper. Back to Genesis 22, where we see Abraham's profound statement, God will provide for himself the land. This is more than just hope. It's a prophecy. But here's something intriguing. Some Jewish traditions suggest that Isaac was an adult, not a child, willingly participating in the sacrifice, as we alluded to earlier. This adds a layer of depth to the Christian understanding of Jesus, who willingly laid down his life as the Lamb of God. But what happened on that mountaintop echoes through history. Number 9, as Jacob blesses his sons in Genesis 49, we return to Judah and the vivid imagery of washing his garments in wine and robes in the blood of grapes. This might seem like an image of abundance, but it's also a striking foreshadowing of the blood of Christ. But here's a lesser-known connection. This imagery is tied to the ancient practice of treading grapes in a wine press, a metaphor used later in the Bible to describe divine judgment. Finally, number 10, we come full circle to Adam, the first man in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Paul in Romans draws a parallel between Adam and Christ, calling Jesus the last Adam. But here's something fascinating. Early Christian writings also link the creation of Adam from dust with Jesus' resurrection from the tomb. Both involve life emerging from earth and a divine act of creation. You see, Genesis isn't just the beginning of the world's story. It's the beginning of Jesus' story. From the seed of the woman to the last Adam. The entire book is filled with whispers of the Messiah to come. These hidden treasures invite us to see the Bible as a unified narrative, where every chapter points us back to Christ. So next time you open up the book of Genesis, remember, there's more to the story than meets the eye. If you found these insights fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and please hit that notification bell. And of course, share this video with someone who loves uncovering hidden truths in the Bible. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep discovering the deeper story behind the words of the Bible.